What if Anakin Skywalker found the Sith Shrine buried beneath the Jedi Temple? For thousands of years, the Jedi Temple stood as a symbol of peace and order. Its towers shone above Coruscant as a beacon of the light side, but few knew the truth, that the temple was built directly over an ancient Sith shrine, a place of darkness and corruption. The Jedi built their temple there on purpose, hoping that the light of the Order would contain the dark side sleeping beneath it. Today we explore an alternate path, one where Anakin's search for purpose leads him to this dark side secret, a discovery that could change everything he believed about the Force, the Order, and himself. So let's find out. What if Anakin discovered the Sith Shrine beneath the Jedi Temple? The towers of the Jedi Temple pierced the haze above the city. From outside, it looked like a monument of peace and order, but deep beneath its shining floors were corridors older than the Order itself, passages the Masters never spoke of. Anakin Skywalker walked its halls for years, feeling the constant gaze of the Council and the endless pressure of rules that always tried to contain him. He had grown used to their discipline, their judgment, but tonight something felt different. As he moved through the temple, a sound began to echo underfoot. It wasn't loud, but it had a rhythm, a steady, pulsing vibration that felt alive. At first, he thought it was his imagination, maybe the aftershocks of the Clone Wars battlefields, or just exhaustion. But then it started to match his heartbeat. Anakin froze. For a brief second, he could have sworn it felt like something or someone was calling him. The sound felt intentional, almost like a voice whispering from deep within the planet's core. He knew he should have been resting. The war had drained everyone. Even Obi-Wan had retired early. But Anakin couldn't shake the pull. The longer he waited, the stronger it became. So he followed it. Each step carried him deeper into the temple's underlevels, where the lights dimmed and the air began to change. The sound of his boots echoed through the silence, heavy and hollow. The deeper he went, the more the temple felt different, less like a sacred space and more like something ancient watching him. The air grew thick, and he felt the Force pressing against him, not guiding him, but testing him. Eventually, the corridor opened into a vast underground chamber. The ceiling stretched into darkness, and the floor was marked with spirals of dark stone that shifted whenever he moved. At its center stood an altar made of black obsidian, smooth and cold, carved with symbols that glowed faintly red. Anakin took a cautious step forward. The moment he crossed the threshold, the entire room seemed to exhale. The spirals on the floor pulsed softly, and the light from the altar grew brighter, as if it had been waiting for him. He didn't understand it, but he could feel it. This place was old, older than the temple, older than the Jedi. But whatever it was alive in the Force, and it knew him. Then, without warning, the air shifted again. The cold vanished, replaced by a faint warmth. A presence entered the chamber, quiet but commanding. Anakin's chest tightened. He recognized that feeling instantly. The Chancellor. From the shadows, Palpatine stepped forward, his robe catching the faint light from the altar. His expression was calm, almost gentle, but there was something deeper behind his eyes, something that made the entire room feel smaller. He didn't look like an intruder here. He looked like he belonged. The altar's glow responded to him, softening in recognition, and for the first time, Anakin felt unsure if he was standing in the Jedi Temple at all, or somewhere else entirely. His mind raced as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The Chancellor shouldn't have been here. No one should have been here. Yet Palpatine looked calm, almost at peace, as if this place had been built for him. The unease in Anakin's chest grew heavier with every breath. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was something colder, a quiet sense of betrayal he couldn't explain. But beneath that, there was also something else, comfort, the kind of steady reassurance he had always felt around the Chancellor. Maybe, Anakin thought, the Chancellor was here for the same reason he was. Maybe this was about truth. The thought was fragile, but he held onto it anyway. The Force trembled between them. The air was alive, like the whole chamber was listening. Each pulse of energy seemed to move through the black altar first, translating the space between their unspoken thoughts. Palpatine began to circle the altar, his hand hovering just above the dark surface. As he did, the carved symbols on the stone started to glow, faintly at first, then brighter, responding to his presence. The air filled with the scent of burning dust and something that felt ancient, like a storm that had been waiting centuries to break. Anakin could feel it in his bones. His body wanted to pull back, but his spirit leaned forward. He had stood beside the Chancellor countless times before, but never had he felt the Force bend toward anyone the way it bent toward him now. When Palpatine spoke, his voice didn't echo. It blended into the hum that filled the chamber as though the room itself wanted to listen. He spoke of knowledge buried by fear, of balance misunderstood. The words sank into Anakin like water into dry soil. These were thoughts he had wrestled with for years, ideas that the Jedi had always told him to silence. But hearing them now, spoken so calmly, so confidently, made them feel like truth. The altar pulsed brighter, and a ripple ran across its surface. Then Anakin saw something, faint at first, that became vivid. Visions. Padme appeared before him, pale and trembling, her breath shallow, her eyes full of pain. He reached for her, but she slipped away before he could touch her hand. The image vanished, replaced by fire. Battlefields of clone troopers turning their weapons on Jedi, ships burning in the sky. The visions came faster and faster until he saw a figure standing in the middle of it all. A man holding a lightsaber, his body outlined in flame, his own face reflected back at him with empty, staring eyes. The image shattered, and Anakin stumbled backward. Palpatine remained calm. His eyes were fixed on Anakin, steady and full of quiet understanding. There was no judgment there, no anger, only patience. The kind of patience that invited trust. And in that moment, Anakin understood what the Jedi feared most. The darkness wasn't chaos, it wasn't hate, it was possibility. He wanted to pull away, to call the council, but it all felt so distant. The only thing that mattered was understanding. The Force in this place had will, direction. It wanted something from him, and it spoke through the Chancellor. Palpatine's gaze met his. The rhythm of the altar matched Anakin's pulse beat for beat. For the briefest moment, he felt his connection to the Force expand, not his peace, but his clarity. Every sound, every flicker, every breath sharpened into perfect focus. He felt unstoppable, and that terrified him. Palpatine stepped closer, his presence calm and controlled, and Anakin realized something he didn't want to admit. He wanted to feel that power again. He told himself it was for Padme, for the end of the war, but deep inside, another voice whispered a different truth. He wanted to feel that power again because he could. Anakin closed his eyes. The darkness didn't feel evil. It felt like freedom. For a long time, the two stood in silence, the hum of the chamber wrapping around them. Then slowly, Anakin stepped back from the altar. His breathing steadied, and his thoughts cleared just enough for reason to slip through the fog. Whatever this was, this place, this energy, it wasn't meant to be controlled, not by anyone. He turned to face Palpatine. The Chancellor's face was still. There was no surprise in his eyes, only understanding. And that was when Anakin realized this wasn't discovery, it was invitation. And the moment he stepped into the dark, he had already accepted. Anakin stood at the edge of the altar's red glow, his breath shaky and uneven. The air in the chamber was heavy now, alive with energy that seemed to move in rhythm with his heartbeat. But it wasn't just around him anymore, it was inside him. The Force pressed against his chest, waiting for his response. The Chancellor didn't move, he just stood there, calm and patient. That calm was unbearable. It wasn't the comfort Anakin once felt from him, it was control. Everything about Palpatine's presence commanded obedience, and the shrine itself seemed to mirror that power, pulsing brighter when he breathed. Then streams of red smoke crawled up from the cracks between the stones, curling around Anakin's boots and tracing lines up his body. The Force was alive here, testing him. He tried to focus, to find the serenity Obi-Wan had taught him to hold on to. But that word, serenity, felt hollow now. Peace had no place here. The only thing that mattered was will. The Force wanted a choice. It wanted to see who he really was. Anakin felt it building inside him, like a storm waiting to break. His training screamed for control, but another current, deeper and older, whispered to let go, to stop fighting the current and let it show him what true power felt like. If the Jedi had buried this shrine, what else had they buried? He tried to push the thought away, but the more he resisted, the stronger it grew. The dark energy fed on his doubt, wrapping tighter around him until the air itself began to shake. The altar's red symbols flared, and the spirals in the floor started to spin faster and faster, pulling at him. Anakin began calling on the Force as he had been taught. For a moment, it obeyed, then twisted against him. The energy surged back like a wave, pressuring him to his knees. The shrine was alive now, and it wanted surrender. And for one terrible heartbeat, he almost gave it. In that moment, he saw everything he had ever wanted. Padme safe in his arms, the war over, the galaxy at peace under one will. The vision was intoxicating. It felt like destiny. Somewhere in the dark, he felt approval. Anakin gasped and tore himself back to reality. Palpatine was still standing there, his expression unreadable. The man didn't need to say anything. His silence was enough. It carried more weight than any words could. The shrine wasn't testing his power, it was testing his allegiance. As the pressure grew heavier, Anakin fought back, grounding himself in the Force. But in this place, compassion hurt. Every face he loved only deepened the pull. He refused to let go. He focused, shouting inwardly against the current. And just like that, the pull loosened. The red light faltered, the chamber went still. The silence that followed was massive, not peaceful, just waiting. The room felt different now, still alive, but subdued. The shrine seemed to pull back as if satisfied. He told himself he had resisted temptation. He told himself he had proven his loyalty to the light. But somewhere deep inside, he knew the truth. The test wasn't over. It had only begun. As the altar's glow faded, the Force around him quieted into false peace. Anakin turned, ready to leave, but the Chancellor didn't follow. He only nodded, a gesture that felt like both permission and command. Anakin didn't realize it then, but that nod wasn't farewell. It was confirmation. The shrine had accepted him, and as he climbed back toward the light of the temple, its rhythm still echoed quietly beneath his heartbeat, steady, patient, and waiting. Anakin woke before dawn, his breath sharp, his body tense. For a moment, he didn't know where he was. Stone walls surrounded him, dim light spilled through the window, and the hum of Coruscant's traffic echoed far below. His sheets were tangled, sweat clung to his tunic, the memory of what had happened was already fading. It had to have been a dream. That was what he told himself. The war, the exhaustion, the stress, it all played tricks on his mind. Nothing more. But when he swung his feet onto the floor, the chill that met them didn't feel like morning air. It felt deeper. He stood and walked to the window. Outside, the city looked peaceful, the Jedi Temple catching the first warmth of sunrise. For a moment, everything seemed normal. He told himself he had never left those upper halls, never gone below them, and he laughed quietly to himself. That evening, Padme found him standing on the balcony of their apartment, the city lights glowing like a sea of embers beneath them. She spoke softly, asking if he was all right. He smiled, saying everything was fine. But when she went inside, the quiet returned, and beneath it, he felt the same faint vibration. He looked down at his hands, and for an instant, his skin seemed to shimmer faintly red. Then it was gone. He turned his eyes toward the temple's towers, ignoring the feeling that somewhere deep below them, something waited. And high above the city, another light glowed. Palpatine stood by the window, watching the sunset cast gold across the spires. He didn't need to see Anakin to know. He could feel it, a faint echo in the Force, perfectly in sync with his own heartbeat. The seed had already taken root. All it needed now was time. That night, Anakin slept. The darkness within him pulsed once in quiet agreement and then went silent. Beneath the city, the shrine waited, dreaming with him. And with every heartbeat, the galaxy leaned a little closer toward night.